Alrighty friends, good morning. We are going to start the process of canning my freezer. What in the world? Okay, we're not going to can the full freezer, but I have 3 shelves in here that I would like to get canned. It's this shelf here. We have several homegrown chickens that we raised and butchered. We have some cuts of meat like drumsticks from Butcher Box. We have various pork items. Obviously, I'm not going to can the pork fat, but there's other things behind there. And we also have some turkey that we raised and harvested at home here. So I'm going to work on canning a bunch of this meat. So many things are going to be coming up. And not only canning that freezer, I have these boxes of blackberries and strawberries and blueberries that I bought from Azure Standard. Again, this is how the fruit and veggie freezer is looking, but I want to can these into various jams and jellies. First off, let's get a bunch of this meat unloaded. I wanted to work on the cold water defrost method with a bunch of it. I mean, again, who knows how far we'll get, but this is where we're starting. Okay, so if all things go down successfully, this is the bones from the whole hog that we bought, and then the fat. There's one ham steak there. I can actually put this up at the top now that we got some more room up there. And then this is a basket of various other pork cuts that are left. And these things we'll be processing in the coming weeks and continue to clear out this freezer more. And actually, I'm just adding to our projects here. This ground turkey has been in my freezer for a bit, which, I mean, it's fine. That's why it's in the freezer. But I'm thinking, let's also can up a bunch of this ground cookie. Canning ground cookies this morning. Look at us. I have not even had my coffee yet, but I knew this meat had to get rolling. So let's can some ground cookie too. We can do that. Did I say ground cookie again? What? Cookies on the brain. Okay, that was a variety of ground turkey. And then I pulled these out thinking that these were 2-pound rolls of turkey. They're 2-pound rolls of sausage. Those were $2.99 at Sharp Shopper. And then I had 4 of these maple sausages. I mean, I buy these by the case. I have in the past at Sharp Shopper. And so I had 4 left from that last case. So, looks like we'll also be canning up some turkey and some sausage. And of course, we don't know how far we will actually get in this adventure, but I know this morning that I have to start dealing with this meat. And again, no makeup mama, but my hair is brushed, my teeth are brushed. Makeup will happen after I get the coffee in. But let's get this meat upstairs. I'm going to get it defrosting in various 30-quart bowls, doing the cold water defrost method. Some of these things we can cook from frozen, such as the sausage. But this is one of my big batch cooking and canning days. So we're starting this morning. We're gonna project all day, and we'll just see by tonight how far we get. Will we get any jams started today? I don't know. Will we get any meat actually canned today? I don't know, but I know it all starts with the prep work this morning. We will go from there. I have 2 dedicated big batch cooking and massive food preservation project days between today and tomorrow. So let's just see how far we get. I was about to say, I'm so sad. I was almost out of my favorite coffee creamer, but I'm not. I got 1 more left. Yay. Okay, so Mama's getting ready for this big cooking day. Now, we did, well, I gotta check this one. Is this one unloaded? Oh! Okay. I was about to say, we unloaded the dishwashers and got them going. This other pan or grate here still has some bacon drippings on it, so I'm going to add that back in. The sink is clear for what it's worth. If folks want sweet tea, they need to make some more sweet tea. I need to get this meat in the bowls up here, well, to start defrosting with the cold water defrost method, we do, and I'm just picking up odds and ends. So we're gonna do some quick tidying up. Also, so sad, so sad. I had a family member bring up my roasters. You know, I have these 4 roasters, and I've just been keeping them on my stainless steel countertop down by my freeze dryer. It's got a lower level, and when I don't have roaster projects going, they've just been sitting there. So I had a happy helper bring these up this morning, and this one, look, let's dissect the roaster. Inside there's stuffing. Anyway, this one accidentally got dropped on the basement stairs. Took a really good tumble. So I guess I'm down to 3 roasters already. Good thing I had ordered those other 2 for the big tomato movie that we did a few weekends ago. So now we have 3 roasters that will get going. So you can just see it up close and personal. I mean, I don't think there's any coming back from this roaster. We got this one. I think this is actually the first roaster I ever bought. Way back through the years, you can look on my Instagram. It's probably 7 or 8 years ago now. I bought this at the Forest House and had a whole lot of fun getting going with a big roaster. I didn't own one at my farmhouse. But this is it. She made it 7 or 8 years. The basement stairs took her out. So what I'm doing now is just taking 5 minutes, 3 minutes, just a few minutes before we really get going with this. It's the kickoff of the massive canning my freezer event. I wanted to just take a few minutes, get the countertops on the island wiped down. I wanted to get the bowls set out that we're going to work on doing the cold water defrost method with a lot of the meat. I wanted to make room for my roaster ovens. Also, I had 3 cereal holders that I just took out of the packaging. I thought they went through the dishwasher, but yet they had a lot of like grease on them, so I don't know if they didn't. I don't know what happened with them, but we're gonna get those soaking as well. I go ahead and pitch and clean up where I had some Valentine's flowers. We go ahead and move the roaster oven that fell to its demise down the basement stairs. Also, I realized I can set up my 3 roaster ovens on one side of the island and not have them spread out so far, but we first need to get all the meat in cold water in these bowls. Now, once I'm done with all this cleaning and once I'm done getting the meat defrosting in the bowls, then I need to do a work project off camera. I need to sit down, and I have about an hour to an hour and a half or so voiceover I need to do. So I will get that done while the meat is in the cold water. After that, I'm going to reevaluate how things are looking, where we are timing wise, and we'll see if we're going to get our first fruits going to get started on some jam projects as well. So the kitchen was not too bad at all. We had both dishwashers loaded last night before we went to bed for the final dishwasher runs of the day. So this morning I had one kiddo work on unloading them, and then they had to go out to a morning dance class. So that's okay. We have more family members here. So another family member then was able to finish unloading the dishwashers. The floor really could use to be swept, and if this was our normal all-in homeschool day at the kitchen table, I would definitely have someone sweep the kitchen, but all we're going to do is add to this kitchen floor mess all day, so I'm going to just let that go. It's a rainy day here in Virginia today, so Travis and the kids are working on other projects at the other end of the house. We had the contractors come back this morning to add another coat of mud to the drywall for the second bathroom, and then there were a few more areas they caulked in our main bathroom. Again, the main bathroom, like, we're so close to wrapping that up. I think today Travis will be getting that second mirror installed, which will be fantastic, and just buttoning up a few more projects in there as well. But besides that, let's jump into getting this meat in the 30 quart bowls with some cold water with it. And hey friends, it's future Jamerrill here. I find out on day 2 of our super mega canning my freezer extravaganza that there's actually no research or testing that has been done on canning ground turkey. I'm going to explain all of that coming up on day 2, but I just want to let you know that even though you hear me talking about canning ground turkey, we're not actually going to can it. I'm going to cook it through and we'll get it in my freezer later in this video, but I just wanted to give you a heads up to stay tuned, and on day 2 we'll talk more about the reasoning behind this. Now, it's going to be a lot of meat to get in these bowls, defrosting. It's going to be a lot of water to haul. This hose doesn't necessarily, I mean, will it turn? Okay, look at that. I was thinking that it wouldn't actually turn well to reach. I've never turned it this way before, but hey, I was thinking I would need to fill this bowl. That's okay. We got our rooster supervising us. So let's get started here. Now, I've been doing so well getting 10,000 or more like 11,000 steps in every day. I wasn't going out for a walk today. I know many of you have asked what my steps are on these big marathon cooking days in the kitchen. It's funny, sometimes you think you get all these steps in and it's not, and other times you're surprised. Okay. Some of these that have like the Ziploc tops, I'm going to the tops out the top. I do have several turkey necks, turkey backs. Some are from the turkeys that we raised, and some are just from like when I cooked turkeys at Thanksgiving. And I'll just throw the necks in the freezer. I figure the things we're trying to accomplish here with all this meat is I want to, of course, cook all the meat and can it, and I also want to make a lot of broth. Now, my broth, we'll just see how it goes. It might stay separate, or it might just be a multiple meat type of broth. I will try to keep things turkey meat, chicken meat. I'm labeled well, so I'm just giving my disclaimer. We'll see how it goes. Back, neck, or bone broth. Okay. Yay. We've had these drumsticks from Butcher Box, and I feel like they've been in my freezer at least a year. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw these in with our homegrown, home butcher chickens. And these are organic and no antibiotics, no hormones, no steroids, just like the meat we raise at home. I'm going to throw this in with my homegrown chicken and cook it down. And yes, I could defrost it and my kids could have, you know, a sheet pan drumstick meal, but I'm just not, and that's okay. We will eat the chicken meat. We will definitely use the chicken broth. My mailman already has strange notions about me, so if he looks through this window and sees me talking to my friends, that'll be nice to see. Now, for some of our chickens, we did the shrink wrap bags. For some of them, I've just used gallon bags, like the Ziploc ones. I was thinking about saving the roaster from my busted roaster anyway, because I think that's about 20 quarts. It's a little dented though. I don't know that I'll use it beyond this time, but we're going to use it this morning, aren't we? So, lots of food. This is actually turkey hearts and livers. And so what I'm thinking with that is I'm still going to cook it up, and I will mix it in because organic organ meat is really good for us. And I know that some folks just mix the organ meat in their regular meat that they eat. And so I'm going to do a little of that. I'm going to start getting these filled. They will still need dumped out. Let me just move my rooster. I'm going to plan to do that around the back of the sink. As of this video, we still don't have the welcome to the farm sign hung, but we're getting there. But I'm going to fill it this way. This is a benefit of having a prep sink here I hadn't thought of before. So I don't know if the manufacturers of this faucet ever intended for it to be used backwards. But it turns beautifully. It is filling my bowl behind it with cold water just fine. And then I'm going to do a little scooch in and turn it to the side there. And I'm probably just going to carry over water to the roaster that we're using. Some water in there. But look at that. It just spun beautifully. You see, I also took half a brain cell and spun that part around so I don't have to actually hold it. This is nice. This is a Mega Mama kitchen feature I didn't even know how to ask for. I didn't even know I wanted. But Jesus knew. He made sure that we got this backwards water faucet situation going. Yay. A flaw in the Mega Mama kitchen, but Travis can switch it out. He said no problem. On this faucet, up is hot, down is cold. And so we will not have this meat completely defrosted. I've done a bunch of reading up on cooking chicken from frozen. I know you're never supposed to cook chicken from frozen in a slow cooker, but the guidelines I was just reading was saying that you can cook chicken from frozen in the oven and some other methods, obviously as long as you increase the cooking time. And so these roaster ovens operate just like my big Mega Mama oven over there. So our chicken and our turkey is just going to cook longer, and that's okay. We'll see how the meat spreads out with these roasters. This is a lot of meat. So I'm thinking I will probably end up boiling some in the 30-quart stock pot. And I could get the 60-quart stock pot out. We'll just see how things play out here as we work through this meat this morning. But I need to do the cold water defrost method on it, at least to get it going, just to get things out of packaging and such. From the USDA website, I will link this below if I remember. Please help me remember. But what I Googled, in case I forget, is USDA, is it safe to cook a whole frozen chicken? It says chicken can be cooked from a frozen state in the oven or on a stove. The cooking time may be about 50% longer. Be sure the chicken is cooked to a safe minimal internal temperature of 165 as measured with a food thermometer. And I am the queen of the digital food thermometer, and I'm also the queen of cooking my food to an internal temperature of 200 or 220 as such. So let's see what else they say. And while we're spending time on the USDA website this morning, we'll continue our chicken story time. Rinsing or soaking chicken. Washing raw poultry before cooking is not recommended because bacteria in raw meat and poultry juices can be spread to other foods, utensils, and surfaces. This is called cross-contamination. Rinsing or soaking chicken does not destroy bacteria. Only cooking will destroy any bacteria that might be present in chicken. So I'm just reading that because we have a lot of should we wash or not wash our chicken. Then it goes on to say, do not cook, I'm reading their frozen chicken section, do not cook frozen chicken in a slow cooker or in the microwave. Thaw it before cooking. However, chicken can be cooked from a frozen state in the oven or on the stove. The cooking time may be about 50% longer, and I read that to you already. And then I searched for the same info for USDA as far as the turkey, and it's the same. It is safe to cook a turkey from the frozen state. The cooking time will take at least 50% longer than recommended. What I want to do now is start pulling meat out into the big roasters and just let it cool, or pull it out into the big bowls from the roasters. And then we'll let it cool, and then we'll get picking it down. That's my plan. That's my next goal in life. Again, I'm at the time of the evening. Okay, it's 7:42. at the time of the evening where I'm like, I could, very much so. And right now, the way that I'm leaning is we're going to get this cooled, we're going to get it picked down, we're going to get our broth going so it can go overnight. And then, and we'll go to bed at a good time. I have been doing so well this week. You know in mom life, we don't always get to pick our bedtimes. We don't also get to pick, what kids stay in bed and all of that. And I'll feel like I'll have a good run of no kids getting up, no nothing, just able to, go to sleep and get up and do the mom life things, which is already a lot. And then I'll have a run, and maybe you do sometimes too, where it's just multiple things happening. And so I had many weeks of multiple things that I was dealing with. And this past week, I have been able to be in bed somewhere between 9 and 10 every night. And I've been able to get up somewhere between 5, that's the earliest, and about 6:30, 6:45. I mean, wow. So I would like to continue on with that trajectory for however long it lasts. And that's where I'm thinking, okay, big project day, that's okay. I did get started at a good time this morning. I always tell myself earlier than I start, but I did pull this meat out about 9 this morning. And so had some other things going on here and there, but overall, we did well. So I'm thinking I would like to be done for this evening. Doesn't mean the video's over, but in me sharing this process with you, I would like to be done by 9, but I probably won't be done and packed up and stuff by 9. So even if it was 10, hey, we're not cooking through the night until 10 a.m. Although we do that sometimes, and that's also fun. All right, I can let this one be. Look, we got 3 roasters, 3 bowls. Although I got some on the stove too. Just turn the heat off on that for the moment. I'll set my other bowl on this side. Going for the next one now. I did get a little working mama stuff. I got a big voiceover recorded, although it took me longer than I thought, as always. I'm spinning this circle because I have this bowl here soaking and you can wash. Anyway, and took a big break. Had dinner with Travis and the kids, and that was good. Been listening to a good audiobook. Around 3 when I started. I was thinking I'd let it cook until about 6, but now it's 7:48. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4.5 hours. Okay, so everything's definitely roasted and cooked through. No problem. The last time I did a big, super big video of meat processing and big batch cooking with our homegrown meat was when I was postpartum with Tobin. And that same red roaster, I don't think I had my second roaster then. And we cooked up a bunch of our homegrown chickens. We processed those and we made broth. I wasn't canning any of it. I still did it. I froze all of that. That's been long used since then. We're out of now, pretty sure, I mean I could still find one lurking, but pretty sure we are 100% out of our homegrown chicken as far as what's in our freezers. So I'm glad to get this cooked. And a bunch of broth. We got a lot of good yellow broth here. And I'm going to have all 3 roasters going overnight, so that'll be good. going to have them on low. And I guess in theory, that would give us potentially 60 quarts of broth. I have my pot on the stove also, but with the gas, I don't think I'm going to have that one cook overnight. I just haven't done that before. Let me know if that's something you broth makers with gas stoves have done. I do have, well, my 10-quart slow cooker is in the refrigerator. I would not have necessarily packed it up that way, but that's okay because I didn't have to pack it up. But I had made something yummy last night, and they were still eating it today. Maybe I'll repackage that and wash my crock. That seems like an awful lot, huh? I have my 14-quart Go Wise pressure cooker. I've done broth in that a lot also. I don't know. I guess I'll just see how this goes. Well, thanks for talking this out with me. I needed the 3 roasters and the 30-quart pot and the red 16-quart Dutch oven and those other 2 Dutch ovens to cook down all the meat. But I don't have to make 90 quarts of broth. I could make 60 quarts of broth because each of these are 20 to 22 quart roasters. I think that would be good. I feel like, oh no, but the 30 quart on the stove. But I can combine that broth in these. Then I was just going to add some salt to a basic chicken broth. I might have some celery and carrots in the refrigerator. And if I do, then probably in the morning I will add those. And then we'll strain those off. But besides that, I was just looking for a good basic chicken broth to add to everything, right? Now I'm not going to can white meat versus dark meat. No one in my household has ever made any distinctions between liking one over the other. I don't think a lot of them know there's a difference, and that's fine, because for me, it'll be meat that I'm bulk cooking other recipes with. So I won't tell if you don't. That's why I'm also, I guess this is turkey. Yes, look at the bones, they're bigger. So this is technically turkey broth. Most of this is chicken, but there's some giant turkey legs in here. Not too many, it's mostly chicken. So this is technically chicken broth. So I'll try to keep it straight a little bit. And I know that there's flavor differences, and there's times, you want turkey or you want chicken. Or you want chicken, but you wouldn't mind if you had to substitute turkey. I'm just not a picky person at all, and I better cover my tracks, right? It doesn't mean if you have preferences that you're picky. I think having preferences are great. I like having preferences. I like taking the time to reheat my food if my food has gotten cold. Not that I have not eaten my food cold, and not that I won't have many should-be hot meals that end up being cold, and I just eat them that way, or drink cold coffee. We all know that's a thing in mama life. Okay, and so I'm going to behave. I'm not going to lift this bowl. I'm just going to push it towards the other. I've gotten very good at pushing these bowls around my island here. I'll still keep this. I need to keep this on, keep warm, because we'll be getting back to it. And then I still have chickens on the stove that we'll bring over. I guess setting up our little system here. So whenever I pick meat, I of course need the bowls that the meat is in, and then I need another bowl to put the meat in. Overnight, we will refrigerate this. Yes, I'm already going with that plan. But we're going to put all the little bones and pieces and little meat bits here and there back into these roasters, and we will do the 60 quarts of homegrown broth, and that will be good. gonna wash this bowl, and I will pull the chickens from the stove. Now I will say I have one fail. I don't have to tell you this fail, you'd never know, but I like to tell you my fails also. My red Dutch oven burned. I don't think the oven itself is burned, but the meat in it. You know, those couple turkey backs and turkey necks, it's burned. It all smells burnt. So it won't be a total loss. I'm letting it cool. I will pick it down, and I have different animals that I'll feed it to. Largely, we have dogs, we have cats. They will enjoy it. I will even feed cooked turkey and cooked chicken to my poultry. They don't know, they don't mind. I don't feed it to the type of pigs that we have so much. If I had like regular old hogs, I'd probably just feed them all scraps and not hair, and you can tell me, hey farmers, if that's okay. I've bought full hogs that have been processed, but I haven't raised hogs. But for the past year, I have been raising cooties. Right now we have, hold on, I gotta count my pigs. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 coonies on our property right now. 2, we're getting ready to butcher here pretty soon. Coonies are a large pig, which is interesting. We've never raised pigs until this last year. So look at us, we've done it, it's a whole year. It's one of our new things in spring 2022. And we do have our mama pig back with the daddy pig, so you know what that means. I'm hoping that by early summer we get another litter of piglets. She did well as a first-time mama. She had 3. 1 didn't make it. She rolled on it. We didn't even know she had rolled on it. We went out there and saw 1 piglet. We've got videos from this fall where I'm giving you a play-by-play of this, but if you hadn't heard my piglet story, she had delivered 1. I ran inside. I ran inside to use the bathroom real quick. I went back outside. She had a second one, and then later when she got up, we found the third. And I think that was the first one she had, but that's okay. Things happen on the farm, and that was our first go of it. She had 2 boys, and we will in the future process those as well. And we have another girl right now that I recently purchased from a friend. She's 10 weeks. So my plan is later I will rotate those 2 mama pigs, future mama pig there. I will rotate those with the boar just so that one can have a break and we can still have fresh piglets and all those happy pig farming thoughts. But this is what I was saying. With the coonies, I can give them fruit and vegetable scraps, not meat scraps. So they do enjoy my peels and my banana skins and those kind of good treats we have. Now you might see this pizza on the counter. That pizza, my adult son gets some of those from Sharp Shopper, and he will take those for his lunch. So that's his little bit of meal prepping for tonight. Okay, so I'm going to begin the process now of picking all this meat from the bones. It's going to take a little bit. Got my audio book in my ear. We'll get through it together. Alrighty, so the family has rolled through here for bedtime snacks and conversation and all that. I was able to work through picking down the poultry. This is the big 30 quart bowl of meat. I'll slice this down more tomorrow. This is what's left of the little meat pieces and all the bones. And so in each of these roasters, I have the broth that's going and quite a big of, you know, skin and bones and turkey necks, chicken necks, little chicken wings, those kind of pieces, great big turkey leg bones. A lot of those ended up in that roaster. So I've got all three of these going. What I'm going to do with these pieces that are left is I'm going to bag them up for tonight. And then tomorrow, just first thing in the morning while the coffee's percolating. So my plan is tomorrow to get these various bones and meat pieces going in the 30-quart stock pot, because we're going to need broth also to can the meat with. So we'll get that going to be the hot liquid to go in with the meat. And that way, the broth that we're making here, hopefully we can can separately as broth. And I have a few big dishes. We'll get those washed before I head to bed also. Alrighty, so I got the mega bowls are all washed, dried off. I have, this is a bunch of cooked meat. These two are all the cooked meats that we'll chop down more tomorrow. And then these two are bags of bones and other meat pieces that we're going to get a big stock pot on of broth going in the morning. So all of these are just going to go in the refrigerators tonight, and we'll handle them in the morning. And we have 3 roaster ovens going to continue to make some bone broth as well. Good morning. All is well in the kitchen. I'm going for my big cup of coffee. Just checking in while my coffee percolates. I'm going to rinse out that pot and get that going with stock too. It'll have several hours before I get to it, so it'll be better than nothing stock. And I have 2 of these breakfast casseroles for my big freezer cooking day for breakfast meals in February. These are delicious. They have bacon on the top, potatoes on the bottom, and what could go wrong? I'm going to do 2 of them. Might be gone today, might have enough leftovers for breakfast tomorrow. It's always a gamble. So I'm going to get both of them in the oven now. Here we go, breakfast for the fam this morning. And this is just how I'll leave it. I have kids out doing farm chores now. I am still drinking my mama coffee, but as they come in and get cleaned up and the day gets rolling, breakfast is done. We did the work in February. And they will start with this pan here, obviously because I got that pot going there, but they'll start with this, and if we need more, they can hop over to the second. And as always, we have apples, we have bananas, we have yogurt, we have other things going on with it. Heating up my coffee for the 3rd time, but I'm getting through it, and I'm also working on ordering my seeds this morning. Here's our little morning egg haul coming in. That's a chicken who's choosing to lay in the mud instead of the nesting boxes. We'll have rogue ones. Well, good afternoon. We're going to get rolling now. So, little update. Well, I think, is it about 3? 3, yeah. 3 o'clock now. Had a nice morning. I had 2 Mega Mama cups of coffee and ended up having a cup of my red leaf raspberry tea. So it was a nice hot beverage morning. I got all my seed orders in. Now, my videos are always 2 to 3 weeks behind. That's how I'm able to keep up with my videos. So I got all my seeds ordered though. It took several hours. It was a whole lot of fun. It was all of my cozy early spring, almost spring, Saturday morning hopes and dreams. That's what I was telling you about my videos. By the time this video comes out, all those seeds should hopefully be started. But today is the day where they were at least ordered. We already have the window screens in here. It's a cool day. but the sun is shining, so that is nice. In my roasters all night, the chicken bones, the chicken skin, all the extra pieces of the chicken and turkeys has been cooking down, making a wonderful homemade bone broth. And then this morning, at a good reasonable time, I think it was about 8 or so, I got the 30-quart stock pot going on the stove with a whole other big load of our chicken broth. So now we're to the point where things are gonna start happening back to this canning project in the kitchen. Okay, and I was actually here getting my ducks in a row, for getting ready to start canning the chicken. We also, of course, have all this broth, but also yesterday I pre-cooked ground sausage and I pre-cooked ground turkey. Now, I've canned ground sausage before, I've canned chicken before, I've canned broth before. I've never canned ground turkey. I just assumed I could, just like so many of these other meats that are out there. But I just now was going over my processing time again for the chicken and for the broth and for the sausage. And when I got to the ground turkey, this is what I found. Okay, so I started to look for canning ground turkey USDA because I was getting articles coming up. Healthycanning.com is another good canning resource. And there's a whole article here about canning ground poultry. We see the big X, right? Or the big line through. And these were some of the other quotes that I had found that came up in my searches. Penn State Extension Office says no canning procedures have been tested for canning ground poultry or poultry sausage. And so this article in particular wraps up all the sources that I was finding that was basically saying that there's some approved recipes out there that have used ground poultry. They say, as an example, as of March 22nd, the USDA spaghetti sauce recipe on page 69 of the 2014 edition, there are authors who allow ground turkey as a substitute for ground beef. But, and this is what I had read as well, the USDA directions are for bear, beef, lamb, pork, sausage, veal, and venison. And that's what I was seeing. Let's see, that's for stock. And this is bear, beef, lamb, pork, sausage, veal, and venison. So I just can't find any good information this afternoon on also canning up that ground turkey. But I've cooked it, and I know I've cooked it and frozen it before and used it again later. So that's what I'm gonna do, just better safe than sorry with that turkey. We will chop it up real well. We'll get it in a label bag. I'll probably divide it because I think it was only 4 pounds of ground turkey, maybe 6. The video footage will tell us. I will divide it in half and put it in 2 separate bags, and we will take that out and use it whenever we need it. And also, just some food deals. So Travis went out to my local, John Henry General store. Now, what I sent him for was this great deal they had on bananas. They had bananas listed, 40-pound organic boxes of bananas for $15. We've gotten that deal before, and I froze a bunch of bananas for smoothies after we ate a bunch of them also. You know we're banana folks. So anyway, I sent him. They were sold out. That was so sad. But I did have him get me this 25-pound bag of onions for $19, and they have cherries right now for $1 a pound. So I had him get 10 pounds of cherries. I mean, 3 days these are going to be gone. We have not had cherries here in quite a bit. Now, another question I received a lot in my broth canning videos, whenever I'm canning broth or using it, I'll usually have some meat pieces in there, some little meat pieces. It will not be like a whole quart jar of canned meat and a little bit of liquid. It'll be a quart jar of homegrown, home canned broth, but there will be some meat pieces floating around in there. Several people have asked me in past videos in the comments, and I'm like, I think this is a question I haven't gotten around to answer. And remember, I'm a canning dabbler, and I'm going harder into canning now and really growing this as a new skill, but I'm learning a ton from you all as well. Now, from what I'm reading, again, on this National Center of Food Preservation site, it says, if desired, remove any tiny amount of meat trimmings still clinging to the bones and add them back to the broth. So that's what I've been doing. Whenever I've canned the beef broth or whenever I've canned poultry broth, there will still be meat tidbits in there. The question I've been asked is if I process my homegrown meat stock at the meat processing times, which are actually different. And so I have been following the stock processing times, and I have been adding in the tidbits of meat that were otherwise clinging to the bones per these directions here. So I'll be sure to link these directions down below. I am following the meat stock processing times. Now, whenever I process the chicken, like as far as the whole quart jar full of chicken, I will be processing at the approved times for chicken or rabbit. But again, down in the description below, there will be a ton of links and resources for you, and you can read through, and hopefully that answers your questions. And also, the best wisdom is in the comments below. So leave us how you process your meat stock. Do you leave the little pieces, the little tidbits from the bone in your stock? Do you like to take those off? Let us know in the comments below. Alrighty, so I'm going to get working on straining the broth. I think my other measuring cups are in there. I'll see what I can get a hold of here. That's gonna cause a problem here. Well, I'll just use some smaller measuring cups. I have to get the assembly line rolling at some point. This has been cooking a nice long time. I'm not adding any salt right now. I'll probably do the teaspoon of salt per jar when I can the broth. I have one of my teens chopping up all the chicken for us that we pulled last night. And then I have, my dishwasher didn't drain over here all the way, so I had this running on a small cycle just to get it to drain, and we were gonna start loading jars, and it's all good now. Okay, so we will do, well, workflow wise, let me load the jars, then we'll start straining this. I figure I can put the strained broth back in the roasters until we're ready, and I'm going to use that broth with my chicken meat also. But let's load this real quick. The turkey legs that cooked just ended up being super tough. I could tell that they were tough, and many other pieces cooked up just fine, but those turkey legs were tough. So I ended up last night just throwing them in one of these stock pots with our broth here. Figure they could live out their purpose that way. I did have a homemade bracelet, so I'm going to take that off. Also, my shirt today, oh, what was it? I just want to drink coffee and pet my chickens. Yes, it was that one. That is true. Well, I like to watch my chickens. But this morning my shirt should say, I just want to drink my coffee and order seeds. I ordered seeds from our friends, Jason and Shannon. Their family has an organic heirloom seed business called Seeds for Generation. And their business is called Seeds for Generations. And I'll link them down below for you. They are personal friends of ours. We've known for years. We've been camping on their property. I even did a video on that several years ago, back at the Forest House. Anyway, we've had a nice time whenever we have been able to see them in real life. But I also like to order seeds through them. And sadly, their shop/barn that they run a huge part of their business out of had a fire. Sorry, I'm getting my steam facial. Had a fire. They were able to save their seeds, and I'm honestly not 100% sure of all the details on how that has worked out, except I know, facial continues, except I know that after a few weeks of tons of work, they're about 2.5 hours or so south from us. So several of their friends in their direct local community and their church and all of that, everyone pulled together, and they've been working through it, and their seed business is up, open for business. So I did my biggest order through them, and then I also put in an order through rareseeds.com, and I always say My Gardener, but maybe you're supposed to say MI Gardener. Anyway, I did a bunch of seeds through them also. Now I'm going to pick down a lot of this meat also, and I still will use it in my meat panning. So we won't lose all of it. It's just last night I picked all I could possibly see, but now I'm seeing more chunks that I'll be able to get a hold of. And these bones can really be used multiple times. Also in cooking stock. See, once I get all this out of here, this is not a full roaster of stock, but it is nice, good, thick stuff. Well, and I guess some of our stock is going into this bowl, so don't be sad yet, Jamerrill. People have asked me for a long time where I've got these 30-quart bowls and my big strainer. Now, my big strainer here, I did get at the restaurant supply store in Richmond, Virginia, with my good friend Ashley Buffa. She has a YouTube channel too called Ashley M. Buffa, and she does videos up there as well. And she's got 10 kids and is doing all the things, but I got the strainer with her. These bowls I've ordered off of Amazon, but I've seen them at that restaurant supply store, and I feel like a few other places in life. I think that might be the only other place I've seen them. So I've seen them there. I'm gonna need one now to throw this into. But they come on Amazon. I bought my first 30-quart bowl when I was doing a lot of big batch freezer meals, enjoying my kitchen space at the Forest House, because that was such a space upgrade for me from the farmhouse. If you want to see some real fun early videos, go to my earlier videos, and I have a video, the first freezer cooking I ever did on YouTube was about 8 years ago. Daniel was a baby, he's 8 now, and we're in the farmhouse kitchen, and I have no countertop space, and we're just using this, I think it was a 6-foot table maybe? Definitely wasn't 8. Anyway, you can see how I did freezer cooking with a whole lot of children on me and with me and all of that. Anyway, when I moved to the Forest House and I had countertops and some room, I just looked on Amazon for the biggest mixing bowl I could find, and these 30-quart bowls they're like rated for, some people also use them as showers, like to stand in, or baby baths or whatever. And several of my YouTube friends over the years have also bought, they call these the Jamerrill size bowl now. Sorry, I think that's my ice maker going off. Anyway, these bowls are not super expensive, and I have 3 of them now on Amazon. And again, on these big batch cooking days, they're so helpful, and I'm glad I have them. Super useful. We'll pick down this meat a little more, but you can see this nice dark golden poultry stock, because we know there's some turkey stock mixed in there as well. And so I'm not going to, you won't get that kind of a show here. I'm not going to try to pick up this whole thing right now. Actually, you know what I should do? I was going to use the fat separator. This is going to be a bit of a tedious process, but maybe not. Let's see if I can get that going. I have my bowl of bones and skin and odds and ends. I'm going to pour this in another container here. Getting ready to do another stock pot full. And I still go through looking for, any chunks of meat that have escaped. It's just so much, again, bones and skin and gristle and little odds and ends pieces. Like this is the chicken skin, but I still go through and look for it. Whenever I find a little neck, I take that apart and pull the meat off of it. But I will actually feed these bowls, these pieces here, to my chickens, to my poultry, because this meat is cooked. So these little scrappy pieces that I just can't get a hold of will still have a purpose, and they'll just scratch and peck at it. And I've done that in various ways for over 15 years, and all my chickens are just fine. I look at it as more protein, and it's just another way to get more usefulness out of processing all this meat. Again, I already filled this bowl about halfway once and dropped that off to my teen, who's doing the little fine points meat chopping for me. feel like I almost can't pick through chicken anymore. I think we've done pretty well here. So here's some more pieces I just pulled off. Okay, it'll be a happy day for them. So what I'm doing now is I am taking my homemade stock that has been sitting in my 2 different fat separators, and I am just pouring them out back into the roaster oven. I will be saving the fat that's at the very bottom as well, but I won't be canning it. Of course, some fat will get in, but we don't want too much fat to get in. It can affect the jar sealing. So I'm just getting off what I can, and these fat separators are super mega helpful for that. I'm also going through, I'm getting another bowl here, and I'm gonna just start, again, I'm gonna start ladling or scooping the bone pieces and the meat pieces from my second roaster over into my colander bowl so it can start draining, and then we will go through picking out any other little meat pieces we can get from there, and also getting the bones separated and all of that, and we will just keep on trucking here with our homemade bone broth. So it might look like a lot of meat. I don't know how it shows up on your end, but remember that in this meat I had several turkey backs and also chicken carcasses along with necks. And I had lots of little chicken necks, but I had a lot of big turkey necks as well. But this is a great way to do it because all of that meat just gets cooked off and then it falls right off the bones. It's funny, it's a good comparison on how big the turkeys grew compared to the chickens. As an example, let's see, oh, it's hot, but hopefully here I can pick it up for you. Drum roll, please. Whew. Okay, maybe I'll get some tongs. Hold on there. Okay, of course we gotta click them, don't we? So here's a turkey leg bone, and here's a chicken leg bone. So you can see that size difference there. Okay, I should be able to bring this over now. But I'm going to pour some more broth in here. Of course, this is a big homemade stock production. I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine how many quarts of broth and how many quarts of canned meat we will actually end up with. That's okay. Again, this is the only way I know how to do it. I was talking with someone earlier today on Instagram, and I was like, yeah, I've been big batch cooking for over 20 years. That's a long time, but again, that's where it goes back to my mind really only knows how to do things one way. You know, it burns if I try to do anything smaller. Even back, you know, family of 4, I was just getting the idea of cooking and having enough left over for the next day, but it was more like accidental leftovers. But by the time we were a family of 5, the kids were 6, 3, and newborn. And I was working full-time, 40 hours a week, 40 hours every weekend as a charge nurse. I started back working weekends. Naomi was 10 or 12 weeks old. I went ahead and went back because it was, you know, only weekends, although that was a ton. But by that point, I was learning that by Friday, I wanted to have a big batch meal ready for the weekend. So I didn't have to think about, you know, grabbing my food. That kept me from eating out. Now, in all honesty, and all the night shift people will say, I hear ya. There were many times when on the way home from work, I would have to get McDonald's just so I would make it home, so I would stay awake while driving. I know it's counterintuitive. Hey, McDonald's can put you to sleep. But what I mean more of is just the action of eating. And there was no thinking. There was no healthy food choices. It was just get home and not die while you're falling asleep and driving. But besides that, the meals that I would take on purpose, the food that my husband and 2 small children would eat. I also had my Medela breast pump I would take with me for baby Naomi. But the food for the weekend for all of us. So by Friday, when I would go to work, I would have a big pot of something, or I would have 2 casserole type bakes and maybe some muffins and some other food prepped in the refrigerator for all of us. Because when I got off work on Monday, I mean, my charge nurse shift ended at 7, but many times I did not get home until 9 or 10 a.m. I mean, all the nurses said, yeah, we hear you. Especially after the weekend and then running that unit overnight, there would be stuff will happen right before you're about to give report, and you've got to stay and deal with it. So it was very nice when I would get home on Mondays to have enough food to also get through the day. So really, when I went to work Friday night, my shift started, I worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So when I went to work Friday night, I was trying to have a decent amount of food prepped for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Now, many times Monday afternoon, I would get up and cook the next thing. And whenever I got more into my little family of 5 freezer meal prep back then, again, 4 were eating, 1 was an infant, exclusively breastfed. But I would get into doing the 1 for now, 1 for later casseroles, and I would have even more options. That took a little bit of my working to work out those systems and such. Let those sit for another minute, and we'll move this pan of broth. So like I was telling you earlier, if you are interested in any of these bowls or the fat separator or the roaster ovens, I always have everything linked in the video description below. Over on my Amazon shop, it's amazon.com/shop/Jamerrill. I have special sections made, like with all my canning equipment and all my favorite kitchen stuff. And someone asked me the other day for the link to the chairs I bought. People have asked me for the link to the tables that I bought. Everything is linked there at the shop. Those turkey legs have a lot of these little white bones. I do not like those. I'm gonna just put a little water in here. It's very minimal, just enough to get some of this off the sides here. We will yet again pick up that strainer. So I'm taking the time now to put all of the chopped up meat from all of this canning by freezer meat that we have been preserving over these last 2 days. And I think my pigs are squealing in the background out my kitchen window for bonus points. They want to be in the voiceover too. Say hi, pigs. Anywho, I got the big 20+ quart roaster full of the chopped up meat. But I'm also taking the time to go ahead and add some of our broth that we've already used the fat separator on. I just want to go ahead and keep the meat nice and moist. I also want to get it ready for us to start hot packing it. And we'll of course need to add some more liquid in the jars with it once we're officially canning it. But it's just another step in the process. So with all this big batch canning, I'm always juggling and working through things that need processed and things that need to go in the canner. And so what I'm going to do now, I have 2 more loads in my dueling fat separators that need to go into that roaster. I'm like, what's next? Thinking through it. I need to, before I go to do that, let's get my giant All-American canner warming up with a couple inches of water in it. We will then pour the dueling fat separators out, and I just got my jars warming again in my dishwasher. And then we need to take some time before I have this 20-quart roaster full that needs processed, and I've had this 30-quart pot today cooking and boiling down all day. And that has meat. I want to try to get that fat off the top there, but that has little meat pieces and bones and turkey necks and various surprises in there, so that still needs processed. So that's still 50 quarts of product to process. But we're gonna just go ahead and get this canner going, and then I wanna go ahead and we will get the 17 to 19 quarts of the poultry meat into this canner and get that going. Once we have that in there and that's rolling, we will work on processing this other 50 quarts of products. That sound like a plan? I think that's a plan. Mega Mama canner, it is time. Also, a quarter of a granola bar randomly on the counter. Who could know it? Don't worry, the chickens won't mind. If you haven't seen this canner yet, this is my Mammoth All-American canner that does 17 to 19 quarts at a time. It is just all my hopes and dreams and a lot of high power canning, mass quantity, Mega Mama, big batch canning, all the things. I also got my 2 Presto canners. They'll do 7 quarts each, which is another 14 quarts, and we will probably end up with those on the stove as well. And in my workflow, I need to move them over here. I'll need to process this and move this pot before I get one going on this side. I can get one going over here. I've used that back burner for my canners before as well. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and get this going. Okay, and I'm gonna take a moment just to get this top layer of fat off. If it'll let me, I grabbed another spoon even though I didn't need it. Pot filler has been wonderful. A lot of folks with great wisdom, you know, were concerned and asked me how the pot filler would do being on the back of the house in between like my kitchen wall and the exterior wall. I believe that some pot fillers, there's been some pipes that burst and such. So knowing that, ours was heavily insulated and we had no issues with it. So for our first winter with it, that's great. We are thankful. And in Virginia this year, thinking how cold it got. We got down to single digits. I don't remember if we've got below 0. I think we got down to very low single digits. We definitely will have winters where we're down below 0. You know, I always can count on me to give you your Virginia weather report, right? Just taking some chicken skin off of this too. We got this. I'm gonna actually put this lid on it because this is a large thing to heat up, even though there's not too much water in it. I'm just gonna put that lid on it loose for now. So I wanna make the best use of my time, so I've got my dishwasher going again to warm my jars up. I'm going to now actually just can, it's called the Schmaltz, the chicken fat that we pulled off this chicken broth. It's yet another product that we can get from canning my freezer. We are getting the meat that we have processed and that we are canning. We are getting the bone broth that we have made. And now I'm going to get the Schmaltz off, and that can be kept in the refrigerator and used as needed, and I'll tell you more about that coming up. So Schmaltz is rendered chicken fat. I will also link some articles for you down below where I was reading up on it myself. Reading from a helpful blog called Common Sense Home, she says Schmaltz is rendered poultry fat. Currently, it's most commonly made with rendered chicken fat. It can also include duck or goose fat. Also, I'll link an article from the Spruce Eats. Their article says it's rendered chicken fat. It adds rich flavor to many recipes and makes use of the parts of the bird that would otherwise be wasted. It says it is very good for cooking potatoes and other root vegetables. And it's also noted that it's a delicious oil for making stovetop popcorn. It can be used for cooking. It can be used as a spread. It's very similar to the benefits of chicken collagen. It's also known as a spread, and it's used on baked breads and other baked goods in Europe and the United States. And from what I've learned, it's common within the Jewish community because it's also a kosher food. So several of the processes that I have read, folks melt pieces of the poultry fat in a pan and then they strain that through something like a cheesecloth. And I've also read where people skim the fat off of their poultry stock and use that similarly as well. And so it's supposed to be good for those who are on a ketogenic diet because it's considered to be a healthy fat. And I've also heard that there's benefits for skin, hair, and nails. The difference between it and lard is rendered from pig fat, and this is rendered from chicken or geese fat, and sometimes even some duck. So these dishwashers, we got a little problem, not with the dishwashers, but these dishwashers are so wonderful. They run quiet. I don't hear them. So when I press the button on that dishwasher and then I loaded these jars of the Schmaltz, those jars were supposed to be heating up during that. And I just went to get them and it was still stuck at 7 minutes the last time I checked at it. It's just a 9-minute cycle. It'll be okay. So I'm going to now start hauling some of the chicken and excitement from that third roaster through our big colander here. We'll just take, 5 minutes to do that process so these jars get warmed up for us. And then we're gonna get that meat cannon. So we have our hot jars. This is a batch of 12 right now. Of course, the canner will hold even more than this. Let's see here. I got talking and I forgot my little system. So we got the 12 jars lined up. I did the teaspoon of salt at the bottom of every jar. I used my fat separator to pour in a little bit of broth to get us started. And I did that because I just like the way the fat separator pours. So at this point, I've separated all the fat that I can, but I like it as a tool also. And so I'm getting my meat in there. I'm gonna add a little bit more meat to this one, and then a little bit more broth. So I was thinking that I would start processing that roaster in that stock pot, but it's all worked out now. This meat going in the canner, and then I will, next thing we'll work on those pots full. About to overflow this jar a bit. Whoops. It's okay, I always have a spoon ready to help me just ladle a few spoonfuls from one jar to the next. We'll go through and check the head space and wipe the rims. I think, of course I'm not looking at my directions right now, I believe it's 1.25 inches head space. But again, we will check that for sure here in a minute. So I had in my kitchen with me a teen helper for about 2 hours or so, chopping up this meat and doing some other odds and ends, helpful things, brought jars up for me, helped me get my rings pulled out and such, so that was very nice. Also today, my husband and my other children of various ages took the 4 smaller chest freezers that we had in our basement. You can watch my recent freezer declutter and freezer tour. I have 5 full freezers, but that did not happen overnight. You can go watch my recent freezer tour and declutter and organize, where we get everything moved out of the 4 smaller freezers and into other freezers and organized well, like how I've been wanting to do this. This has been on my project list since this fall, and I don't know about you, but I had a lot of life this fall and this winter. I'm sure you have too. So I've just now, hey, it's still winter, it's not officially spring yet, but I finally got to that big project So today, Travis and the kids took those freezers to be a blessing to some other families in our area. And now we have space cleared out in the area where we're going to work through doing our new dedicated laundry room area, which is exciting. Again, we're slow and steady here. I know you've been hearing bathroom renovation updates in each video. So when I'm filming this, we are still working through the second bathroom renovation. I really think they'll be done with that. They started last week, and I think they'll be done at some point next week. So that is great. And getting the freezers moved out of the area that we want to put our laundry room helps us in that spin to get that area ready for that upcoming renovation project, which then will help us clear out our current little baby walk-through laundry room and the little baby kitchen that I used for 3 years and continue on from there. So none of it's overnight. It all takes time and lining up my husband to be able to do certain aspects and lining up contractors to be able to do other aspects. We are slowly working through it. I'm hopeful that we'll just continue to pick away at a lot of projects this year. I don't know how much we're going to get done. I just have no idea, but I'm glad that looks like we're getting the bathrooms done. Should be getting the laundry room done. Should be getting demo done. And then we'll reassess at that point, check in, lining up schedules and all of that, and go from there. So that's exciting for our little 1963 fixer-upper. Now I started canning meat for the first time in 2020. You know, we all had extra time at home, and even though this is our 18th year of homeschooling, and my, let's see here, I believe I have to think of the ages of my children. My 12th year, okay, 18th year of homeschooling, and my 12th year of being an online mama, my 11th year of having a full-time online business, and my 10th year of my husband being home full-time to help me with all of this. So there's, as I get older, you know, you can see the timeline a little better, like, oh, that's the map, that's how that looked. So over 10 years in online, I can connect the dots. So in 2020, we were all home a lot more, and even though we have always schooled from home and for over the last decade, of course, worked from home. So in 2020, we were home even more because we always have a lot of outside activities and get together with friends and field trips and dance class and horseback riding and all kinds of fun carrying on, like I'm sure your family does also. But all of that stopped. Church stopped and everything. You remember we were all there. And so with that, I was able to get some canners again, and I wanted to return to my long time at my farmhouse hopes and dreams of getting into doing more canning. I had my little startup there, then I had a stop for a few years. In 2020, I was able to dust off some of those dreams. It was actually, 2020 was a very good time for me in that I think a lot of people reevaluated, reset some priorities, rediscovered some things like, oops, hold on there, a spoon. I think that's why, of course, many people lost jobs, but some people made purposeful career changes or started new hopes and dreams, discovered new hopes and dreams. So in 2020, I was really able to return to many of my hopes and dreams, and many of them were from my farmhouse days when I had lots of babies, and again, that small grocery budget. But those big gardens and beginning canning, my first chicken flock, my first butchering chicken time, barefoot and pregnant with Liam. He's now 12. And I butchered those roosters. I just wanted to know I could do it. And that's how I feel like now with the pigs that we're raising. I have a good friend, and her family every January, they have basically a pig butchering party. They just invite all the local families, friends, and they go to her house. She makes a big meal for the day, and together all of these family friends butcher the 3 or 4 pigs her and her family have raised that year. And of course they have a meal together and they just have a really good day. So she's invited me every year. I still have not been able to go. This year we had our long-awaited tickets to the Monster Truck Show. Yeehaw! And I have some very young Monster Truck fans. So that's what we did that day. But just saying, I want to learn that skill. I don't want to be beholden to when a butcher can get to processing our pigs for us. I want us to be able to learn that skill and do it on our own, just like we've learned and we do with our poultry. But it's been a process. We got our pigs last year. We've raised them for a year now. We have 2 that are looking like they can just be butchered at any time. I'm going to, with them, still have to set up transportation and have them taken to the butcher. My goal is to continue to read up on pig butchering, to continue to watch videos about it, to continue to talk to my friends who already do it, to go to my friends' hog butchering next winter, and hopefully after that point, just take the jump and do it ourselves. Gotta start somewhere. So we got the headspace right. It's 1 1/4 inch. And so what I did is with my little headspace ruler, it only goes to 1 inch. And so then I just made sure there was a little bit of space below that, about 1/4 of an inch. I have my vinegar here, and if you will remind me in a minute, we will dump that in the canner. I think I did that one. I have all my lids ready for regular mouth jars, and I have one wide mouth jar over here. I have some wide mouth lids on the other side of the island. So, well, that's for my salt. Okay. I was like, oh, I have one, but that's my salt dangling curiously there. And the headspace amount I was just reading has to do with this product having enough room to boil. Okay, let me grab my rings. And this chicken and various turkey pieces that we have, actually it's going to make perfect. You know, my family's big chicken salad and tuna salad fans. We usually have one or the other or both. Last several weeks we've had both every week. I have several kids who love to make it, and the way that this chicken is chopped up, that's going to be like the canned Costco chicken, right? Only it's homegrown and home canned, which is fun. And of course this would be just perfect in all kinds of soups and all kinds of bakes. Stir fry and all the good things we can think of. Let me get my wide mouth lid. Friends, we should celebrate. Not only have I learned to use wing nuts over these last several weeks with this big canner, but together this is now our first load of 20 quarts at one time. because I'm more comfortable with this canner now and how it works. We've gotten to know each other. Excuse me while I stare at this wing nut. I felt fine putting those jars in, not playing it safe and only keeping it at 17 or 18. It took 20 easy. Maybe it was my combination. I've got a couple wide mouths, the rest are regular mouths. Maybe it just all worked out, or maybe I miscounted and it's only 19, but as I like to say, I'm proud of us. We're doing it, right? So we will let this get up to where it's venting. We will let it vent for 10 minutes. Then we'll put our little weighted piece on and go from there. Now I'm going to refill my water. You refill your water or your beverage of choice if you're still with me. And then we have that roaster to do, and we have this 30 quart pot to do a broth. Coming up, we will get the 2 Presto canners that will also do 7 quarts each, so we can get them rolling, and that'll be good. So I'm going to run this stock pot. It's in my way. I could work around it. I can't move it. So I'm going to work on getting that through the strainer, and I'm going to get these Presto canners heating up here too. I also will probably get out my digital electric pressure canners here shortly. This is how I fill up another pot with my pot filler. I at least don't have to take water as far. This will take, I'm not filling this. This is just a little more if I fill it a quarter of the way than use a 4-cup measuring cup or something. And that'll drip for a minute because I don't have it totally off. But I will. I have to have both parts of my pot filler there. Turn off. Okay, making progress. Of the bones and the chicken skin. This pot had a lot of chicken skin in it. I think that's what affected the color. It's just more of a pale yellow and not a dark, rich color. Thinking to myself, we're making it rain broth, right? Steam facials, broth rain, all the things that make sense over here in the Mega Mama kitchen. Someone sent me a message on Instagram. It's funny because I'm wearing this shirt that says, I just want to drink coffee and pet my chickens. And she was joking with me and laughing, and she's like, yeah, and it's even funnier that you're canning chicken broth. And I wrote back, I said, you're right. And it's my own homegrown chickens that I home processed. That's okay. They had a good life. They had a bad moment. They were not, we live in a heavy chicken farming, like commercial farming area. And so we see every day here in the Shenandoah Valley what commercial chicken farming looks like. And believe me, going back to my super cheap grocery budget, I am the mom that has had the super small, non-existent grocery budget, and the only way, the main protein that my family had every month is I bought 3 to 4 of those big bags of chicken leg quarters, and they were about $6 or so then, and they're in that price range. Here, even in recent years, looking for a measuring cup, I'll see what bowl will do. I would usually, after I had my big once-a-month grocery shopping day, the next day I had a big bulk meat processing day. And I would boil down those 3 to 4 bags of chicken, and it was the leg quarters again, and those were all commercial factory farm chicken, but it was chicken. That's all I knew, and that's all I could figure out to feed my family, and so we just made the best with it. I didn't know, and I, again, didn't know. No way I could have bought an organic chicken, and we all continue to learn, right? It's still food in the bellies. So I would boil that chicken, I would peel the meat from the bones, I would then freeze those meat pieces, and that would be my chicken meat for the month. And then the stock that it made, I would usually make a pot of soup by the end of that day, but all the soup, all this homemade stock that was made from just boiling those bones, I didn't cook it any further or anything like that, just from boiling the chickens down, I would freeze that, and that would be my stock for the month. Same thing, I would cook my hamburger for the day, well, for the month. I would cook my hamburger, and I would have it all divided down. And from there, over time, it started out as a big once-a-month meat cooking day, and from there, I would add other components to that big batch cooking day to prep different components of my family's meals for the upcoming 4 weeks that I had to be super frugal and have every single ingredient and penny behave itself. We have officially reached the mama had to get in her cardinal nightgown, get in the pajamas, canning time of the evening. You see better than me what's going on in there. So total, this is going to be 30 quarts of poultry meat. We got 20 in my big canner. We got 7 in this Presto. 20 plus 7 is 27. And then in the other Presto, I got 3. And the other 5 quarts are just of water. And I'm still over here working through this broth. Which mom forgot her vinegar again. I remembered it in these other jars. Let me pour some in the bigger canner now before I forget. And I'll show you those jars that I just took out. So this canner is releasing pressure. This canner is building up to pressure. This canner, I'll get this going again also. We'll get this loaded with 17 to 20 quarts of broth next. Then over here, again, wah, wah, wah. That'll clean up after they cool off in a day or so. But anyway, here are all the jars of the meat. Still bubbling. That's okay. It'll continue to sit here. It'll be cool by morning. Then it'll probably be, well, it's supposed to sit for 12 to 24 hours, and it'll definitely sit more on the 24-hour side. And then we will wipe these jars down, label the lids, take the rings off, and get things put away. But now let's go and do our broth. Another load of stock done. Lid's popping already. And this big canner full, I'm just waiting. I have a few more minutes left on the timer, and then I can put the weight on. So this pot has stories to tell, but day after I'm gonna get it soaking. Just see the blackness on the bottom. So Dawn dish liquid and soaking, and I'll scrub it later. But this pot ran out of water on me. My fault. But I feel like we had no broken jars, and this was my only fail from this massive canning my freezer project. I'll take that. I feel like it's a win, actually. Okay, so it's been a few days. We're gonna do the final count and get these labeled, and then running down here, I have a happy helper who looks like me wiping down the Big Mama canner here. We're gonna get that put up because it's probably gonna be 2 weeks or so before I do any more big batch canning, but this is us wiping it down. Be sure to get our little envelope in there, and we're gonna put that down in the canning pantry down in the basement. Okay, so I'm down here checking on some things too, and I just wanna show you the progress that we made in canning this freezer. We got both shelves cleared off and a lot of this shelf here. I do still have these little store-bought gluten-free beef steak sandwiches. It's just a really thin cut steak. So just for the sake of moving things around, we will just move those down there. But through all of this canning that we did this weekend, final jar count still coming, we did clear out 2 shelves and some room in the basket and some room in the doors. Now, yeah, I never got back to canning the sausage. The turkey, I had already dug around and researched and found that I couldn't find any good directions on canning ground turkey. It gets into the actual ground meat. Canning the actual like whole turkey bird is fine, but whenever the meat is ground, that's where the problem comes in. So hey, you know what? Back in the day, I used to pre-cook all of my meat for the month and get that in the freezer ready to go for meals. And so that's just what I did with that turkey. Now I have ground turkey already cooked and it's in my freezer. I'll pull it out. It's 4 pounds. I mean, you know, that could go in a spaghetti. It'll get used. The sausage, I just never got to it. We canned so much chicken and so much turkey and so much broth. I never got back to canning that sausage. I think it was 6 or so pounds. So that would have been about 3 or 4 quarts of canned sausage I would have done. But for time's sake, because I'm on to other projects this week and I'm not actually doing any other canning for about 2 more weeks from when I'm filming this video. So I'm just gonna throw that already cooked sausage in the refrigerator. And so actually, between the sausage and between the turkey, that is one of my big batch pots of spaghetti sauce, and that's fine with me. So I will earmark that for upcoming sauce. But this freezer is looking pretty good. And another thing I was thinking through is, you know, we will be getting back to butchering our own animals, butchering our own chickens. We have 2 of our own pigs and probably a sheep that is going to be processed. And so we'll just look through. We got these 2 shelves here, right? So we have that. And then this whole freezer is still, I mean, it's full of beef. We pulled a couple beef cuts out of here today. We have 1 empty shelf. And I don't mind having a beef freezer. I mean, I do want to continue to can different cuts as well. But we have this freezer for that. And then we have, of course, we have these top freezers. And I'll drop a link down below of my recent freezer organizing videos. But just talking about room to put processed meat. Processed meaning they've been through the butcher. And so let's see here if I can open it. We got the freezer meal freezer that's continuing to make good dents in life. And then this is full of upcoming projects as well. And so now that I donated and got rid of my 3 7 cubic feet chest freezers and my big, I don't know if it was a 15 cubic feet chest freezer, but I've been using those to rotate a lot of our processed meat, like our processed chickens and stuff. The chickens, though, don't have to be until later this summer and fall. We haven't done the 2 pigs and the sheep yet. It's just 1 singular sheep. So by that point, we'll be through those projects in this freezer over here by the freeze dryer. I have other GART, we're going to start seeds, that's our grow lights and stuff, those projects there. And by that time, we're talking over a couple months, we can continue to work through this kind of chicken and pork and miscellaneous freezer. The pigs that I'm processing, it's 2 Idaho pasture pigs, so they're not like whole behemoth hog size. So the 2 of them together will be a decent amount of meat. I could probably, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe 2 shelves in here would hold them. So it'll all work out. We're just continuing to rotate through things, and we're not butchering a whole cow. So this whole cow freezer that we have loaded, this will not take us a year, okay? But that's not a pressure. So I think I've had to talk this out. Thanks for listening. But I know this video is about canning my freezer. So continuing to work through this freezer and making more room in here and working through projects in this freezer. And then I do have my other little freezers, like this little freezer that has popsicles in it, and that freezer has a bunch of lunch meat deals and stuff. But this is just a farming thing. Whenever you're raising meat, you're processing meat, you're raising fruits and vegetables and produce. Of course, I have refrigerators that can help me as we get into harvesting that and processing that, and or buying great produce deals and harvesting that. But it's March, and that's okay. So the grand count is we have 30 quarts of canned, I just wrote chicken, but you know it's chicken and a little bit of turkey, canned poultry. Out of all of this, I just went through, you know, I checked my lids as we wiped off the jars and labeled them. I had one that didn't seal. Now I know in my Super Mega Extravaganza tomato sauce canning video that I had 1 jar of the tomato sauce that didn't seal. And several of you told me, hey Jamerrill, you can still use that, put that in your refrigerator. The thing is, the reality behind my Super Mega canning days is it is now Tuesday, and I filmed all of this on Friday and Saturday. On Sunday, I rested. Yesterday, busy family day. Was going to get to this. Ha mom, didn't. And so now, Tuesday, I am getting to this. So because of that, this jar has sat here unsealed for 3 or 4 days, or several days here. 2 days if it was Saturday. Anyway, so that's why this will not go in the refrigerator for us to still eat. If I would have caught this, you know, on Saturday, no problem. Could have still been a possibility, but now we just won't be able to use it. Now, in my tomato processing, I did have a jar I didn't fill completely, and that one I did put in the refrigerator, and I already used that. And then we have all of our broth labeled, and so between the 2, so it was 30 quarts of the meat, and it's 25 quarts of broth, and then we have 4 quarts of water that just helped fill out another canner load. So friends, thank you so much for helping me work through canning my freezer. Of course, many more canning adventures and super mega long time freezer cooking adventures and upcoming gardening adventures. I don't know, all the adventures are on their way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me over these 2 days while we canned the 30 quarts of meat total and the 25 quarts of homegrown broth, and hey, the 4 quarts of water. If you enjoyed this video, I will pop up several more of my super mega massive canning adventures, and I will also pop up a card here for another video that you can watch. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you real soon with another brand new video, and I will chat with you in those comments below. Bye bye. Remove bones, cool broth, discard but me not choke on my dishwasher smoke for the big tomato product. So I'm going to straighten my roasters. That's what they are. I'm like, they're not slow cookers, roasters out. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in with my, oh, so my mailman scared me. I was like, funny things that scare me. Anyway, sorry, we're gonna laugh already, right? We're having a good time already. 30 store stock this product having enough room. Oops. Well, and from there, I started to learn, and from there, I started, and from there, I started to learn, and from there, I would start